Okay, so this is part 14 of I've no idea how many videos explaining how I set up Axes and Ohs, this time with the Stream Deck, and we'll look at some other C172 switches. But first of all, there's some admin, because yesterday I had an alert that there's a new version of Axes and Ohs available, and I'm running, you can see here, version 2.28. and there's now a 2.29 version available. So we will unzip that. And here's the unzipped version. And I need to run the Microsoft Flight Simulator version. So we'll double click to install that. And there's the pop-up. It says don't run is the only information because it's protected, because it's an unknown source. But if I click on more info, I get the button that says run anyway, so we can run that. And it's asking me for permission, and I just click yes. And now I can agree that and install. And that's it, done, simple as that. So now if you look at Axes and Ohs, still running it as administrator, and we're into 2.29. So before I can use it, there are two things I need to do. Firstly, I need to go and collect the HVARs, BVARs, the variables from Microsoft Flight Simulator. These ones must be done before running the simulator. So we'll collect that. So it's scouring through, making a list of all the different variables that it can find. And it takes longer each time because there seems to be more and more variables added into Microsoft Flight Simulator. And that's collected. We keep Axes and Ohs running, and we now can fire up the Flight Simulator. I'll probably edit that out because you know how long that takes. And welcome back. So there's about 5 minutes of your life that you didn't waste, that I did. Right, so back into the scripting again. We collected the HVARs and the BVARs. We now need the L variables, the LVARs. And they'll be collected in. And that's it. That's what you need to do every time there's an update. Just collect those variables again. Unless you've got an extra, an unusual aircraft that I've got, that I have to do a bit of work here to map some BVARs to LVARs. So I need to find the TBM and activate that, but I'll do that later. Because I need to restart the simulator for that to work. So I need to remember to do that for the TBM, but we should be okay for this. So let's get Axes and Ohs up, and if I bring, there's my actual Stream Deck in, so you can see what's going on there, and bring the Stream Deck software across so you can see what's going on. Okay, a couple of little things I've got wrong at the end of the previous recording. That on some of the switches I duplicated them, and I changed the text at the top. I only changed the text for the off version, and the on version was still saying beacon. I didn't notice that until I tested it. So I need to go and update those, and I've done all except this one here, just so you can see what's going on. So that now says land in both cases. So if I change that switch, it says land, that says taxi in both cases. So that's all sorted. And the eagle-eyed among you may have noticed that when I was doing the fuel, I made some changes here, and I managed to delete one of the words. So this is the variable we were reading, which is the general engine fuel pump switch number 1 and checking whether that's on or off. What was happening was when I tested it later on, it was looking okay on the screen and it was actually driving the switch quite happily. Bring the switch into focus. It was driving the switch quite happily, but it wasn't changing the icon here on the Stream Deck correctly. So the fuel pump is now working, and it's working here actually on the Stream Deck itself. So that is something I needed to change. Okay, so far so good. So let's get on with some new bits and pieces. What I wanted to do was to actually be able to start the engines. So I needed to look at this switch here, the Magnetos and the start. Now, as you know, it's got a number of different positions it can move to. The software here can only deal with 2 images, so we can't use a single image to make that button. And also when we click on it, it can only really take, it can't differentiate between turning right and turning left. So really need to use two buttons here to make it work. One for turning left and one for turning right. At first glance it looks complicated when I start to work on it. If I do our normal trick of trying to read the events, so if we watch the simulator events, as I click right on this, it sends this one here, Magneto 1 set, and it sends a code 1. The next click, it sends a code 2, then a 3, and then finally it sends a different message that it's setting that the starter was held. And if I go back, you can see it going through the numbers down to 1, down to 0. So clearly that code number there is off, right, left, both, and then start. And there's some script happening inside Microsoft Flight Simulator to make that happen, and it is possible to write a script that will do that. But actually, when we had a hunt through for some of the functions, there's a simpler way of doing it that seems to work just as well. So let's bring the software back up again. And we'll just move that out of the way. So I'm going to use 2 buttons, and I've created by using screenshots two different buttons, one with the key turn to the left and one with the key turn to the right, so it reminds me if it goes left or right. So let's put a function in there. Now it's not a toggle, it's not going to be a click that turns it on and turns it off, and it's not an on-off event. It is just an event. The event is I'm turning it either to the left, or a different event here, turn it to the right. So let's put an event in here, an event in here, and we'll work on this one first. This will be the turning it to the right, so we're going from the off position round to the start. And in axes and O's, let's use the scripting again. I want to insert a sim event, and if you do a search for Magnetos, we've got one here which just says Magneto increment. We've got all sorts of other ones. We can set it to be on and off, and we can change different magnetos, change the left and the right. But just using this one, we've only got one set of magnetos to worry about. There's only one engine here. So magneto increase, right hand click to select it, and we can close that down for the moment, and we'll just drop that into this one here. And we'll paste that in. Let's put that icon in place. that goes into place there. It doesn't have to watch for variable. We're not going to change that icon, so we're not looking to make it change or anything like that. So that's it. We'll submit that. And what we should see now is when we press the button here, we should see this turn step by step to the right. So that's the right, the left, both, and there's the start held. And back again. So that would have been taken us through to the start. So let's put the decreasing, the decrement one in here. So we'll do our same again. Just for this one here, we'll put the image in. And this one's the key to the left. Drop that in there. And I want to write that event. So there's my scripting. I can insert the sim event, Magneto, apply the filter. There's the decrease. Right hand click, paste it in. And it's a key event. And we can submit that. And we'll just check that out. So this time here, it's this icon here. So what looked quite complicated, actually by a quick trawl through the events, managed to get that sorted. I hope that works for other aircraft as well, but if not, we're going to have to look again at some of those functions and perhaps writing a script for it. Okay, so what else do we need to do? Well, we really need to get a battery sorted out. Okay, so let's have a look at this battery switch here. So let's look at the events from the simulator here. If I turn the battery on, you can see it says toggle master battery and it's set to 1. I think we could ignore this. This is one of these potentiometers here. It's being sent the value 10 and it's constantly polling that to make sure I haven't turned it. If I turn, I'm not sure which one it is. Oh, no, it's not the pedestal. It's that one there. So these lights, I think we can safely ignore those. It's just that we've got some current running through and it triggers that straight away, so we can ignore the selected. And this one here is clearly toggling that, and that's working there. We've also got a second battery here, a standby battery, the emergency battery. We can arm that, and it does the same sort of thing, and it connects it to an electrical bus, but this time it's a 2. This is battery number 2 and this is battery number 1. Okay, so we can see what's going on here. So we need to enter those into our Stream Deck. So these are clearly toggles, so let's just park these out of the way for the moment. So we need to toggle, and I'm going to put that as the second icon across, alternator first and then the battery. Let's put the battery in. So we'll drop that in there. I have got an image sorted for this. Not really very expertly done, but there's the off version, and we've got an on version of the same icon. I've put a green dot on it just so that it's really clear when I look out to the corner of my eye at my Stream Deck that there will appear the green dot there. If I go back to the default image and put battery in there, that will appear automatically on both. So the event that we want, if we bring up axes and O's, which is somewhere in this clutter here. Here it is. Let's drop the image out of the way. And here's my script editor. try and reduce the number of windows you're looking at. I need a sim event for the battery and aircraft electrical events, and it's toggling a master battery, so right hand click and we'll paste that into here, and it depends which value we send for this. So if I send a value 1 and we'll submit that, is that going to work for us? Sending a 1 has toggled that one on and off. If I send a 2 and we'll submit that, you see my standby it was toggling there as well. And if I send a 0 and submit that, both get toggled on and off. So you can do both from one switch. It's not as realistic, so let's separate the two and we'll have one switch. So that'll be the 1 being sent on there, submit, and we can duplicate that. I haven't actually got let's copy and paste. I haven't got an icon sorted for that yet. I can just put an ordinary switch on there. I'll leave it as a battery switch for the moment. We'll come back to that in a while. Okay, so that one there will be sending value 2. Okay, so we need to look for a variable so that we can control the icons on here so they switch on and off correctly. Because we haven't got any control over these icons, and they're both showing on when clearly they're both off. So let's have a look at our variables in the simulator. So again, it's a battery variable. Apply this filter, and it's to do with the master battery, and it says across here use a battery index when referencing. Remember, this was 1 and this was 2, so we need to put a battery reference in. Let's put that into here. There isn't a spot obvious for putting a battery index, but if you go to the end of battery and put :1, that should reference this one here, so we'll add that. And let's keep an eye on this. When we switch this one on, that's gone to 1 and 0 is off. And if we do this one here, let's turn this one on, that hasn't changed, so that's going to be battery 2. So let's select that variable and just double check that. Battery, apply the filter, it's the master battery, and we need to reference it with a :2. So we'll watch battery number 2 on, off, and battery 1 on, off. So we should be able to put those into the Stream Deck. So battery 1, I want to read that variable there. So I need to go collect the variable. So if I go back to my scripting, and insert the sim variable for my battery, it's the master battery. And I have to put my index in here. So looking for 1, and 1 is on. Submit that, And now we need to watch what happens when I actually press the physical button here. Battery 1's come on. You can see that it's put the icon on here and on the Stream Deck software here, and that's off, so that's fine. And now we'll do the standby one. And that's in the variable. We'll paste that in and index that as number 2, and the on value is 1. Submit. And again, we'll watch what happens. Battery 1 on, off, battery 2 on and off. So we can see and control the state of both batteries. Brilliant. Okay, that's done. Right, let's have a look at our alternator. Let's observe let's get my axis and let this back up. And close this window. And I want to clear that list. And let's just work on the alternator. So alternator set 1 and 0. So it's not a toggle, apparently. They are sending an on-off event. So in our Stream Deck we would use the on-off tool, but we learned from experience that there is often a toggle version available, but it's not being used. So let's go and just double check that. So let's bring up our scripting and we'll look for a sim event, and it's alternator that we want to use. Electrical event, and is there a toggle master alternator? Well, there is, so we can probably use that. Toggle master alternator, so we'll select that and drop that into Stream Deck. So I'm going to put a toggle switch just there. Again, it's this red button image we're going to use. The on-off version of it. On the on alternator, and we're going to toggle the master alternator, and we need a variable to look at to watch if that's changed. Okay, so let's remove these variables, don't want to see those anymore. And we're going to select an alternator, and it looks like it's general engine master alternator, and it needs an index. It's probably a 1, but let's try that out. So we'll drop that into, let's close that. And we'll look at the index being 1. On value of 1, and let's see how we go. So we press the alternator, that's gone on, and the icon has changed here. You can see the green light on there. Press it again, that's off. So we've got an alternator. That was nice and easy. Okay, so let's have a look at the avionics switch. 2 avionics switches, bus 1 and bus 2. And let's watch the events. So if I click on here, it's toggled a circuit. It's toggled circuit 24, and it has connected the buses. So that's what it actually sends, and this happens automatically. If I click on there, that toggles that off. That's a toggle. And if I do the same for bus 2, it triggers electrical circuit number 25 and off. So this looks a bit complicated, but from experience there's often a simpler way, a simpler event, a toggle or something like that for the button here. So let's have a look at our possible sim events here. So Avionics, we've got an Avionics master toggle, and that looks quite inviting. So if we go into our Stream Deck and we'll drop a toggle into there. Let's go back to my script. Let's toggle the Avionics master. So we can right hand click on that and paste it in. Just paste the event in while we're testing. Submit, and let's check that button there. So we'll press the button here, which hasn't actually got a graphic on it yet. Nothing happening. Let's have a look at the values we're sending. So we're toggling it. Let's send a value of 1. So we're definitely sending something. Submit, and that's working. It's toggling on and off, but it's toggling both. What we really want to do is just to toggle one of them. I'm wondering if there is a way of indexing it. So we'll try toggling just one. There's not. That's not working. Okay, so we need to look for a different event to put in. Okay, so let's have a look again. And these are the events. And I've got Master 1 on, off and set, Master 2 on, off and set, and I'm going to go for setting, because we've had experience in the past of those not really working. So let's try setting it. So I've copied that. In Stream Deck, of course, that won't be a toggle. That's now going to be an on-off event. So we'll replace that, and we will write the event of setting it on with the 1, and off with the 0, and we'll just give it a quick test and see if we're getting anywhere. So we'll press this here. We're looking to see if just this one moves. Nothing yet. Okay. So perhaps we need to read a variable to make that work. So let's go and look at our variables. Avionics master switch with an index. That could well be what we want. So we'll drop that in onto the Stream Deck. And we'll index that with a 1. The on value is a 1. Submit that. Ah, success. I think then that we can do that for number 2. So let's copy that across. Let's put a graphic in there, because I think that we are going to go with this. Images. So it's a white switch, off, on, and that is Avio 1. we'll have that submitted, and then we'll copy this across and see if we can edit it. Paste. So that's number 2. That's a 2. That's a 2. And we'll index that with a 2. And submit that. And we'll test that now. So Avio2 on, off, 1, on, off. It's working on the screen and the icons are correct on the Stream Deck. So that's done. So we're done. Alternator, battery, bus 1, bus 2. Let's get you out of the way. So that's all done. I've not bothered doing that. That's done. We can start the engines. We've got the alternator, the battery, the Avionics buses working. I haven't done anything ever before with the static air, but I have. Let's have a look down here. Fuel cutoff I have used. So let's put a fuel cutoff in. So let's bring that up. I'm going to put a fuel cutoff here and the parking brake here. They're the 2 that I use most. So we need to look at the fuel cutoff. So what do I use the thing? We'll look at the events surrounding the fuel cutoff. So if we pull that out, we've toggled a fuel valve. Whatever we do, it toggles a valve. So toggles nice and easy, we're good at those. So let's put in a Stream Deck toggle into here. That's my shut off. And let's have a look at my images. I've called it cut off here. I've got an in and out. I'm not sure which way around they're going to go, but let's put in, out for the moment. And we're looking for this event, the toggle fuel valve. Looking for that event for fuel. Toggle fuel valve toggle. Toggle fuel valve. It's engine 1, but if I do all, that will probably capture everything. So let's put that in to our Stream Deck. Sending a value 1 as we saw, and we now need to look for a variable. Now I have done this one before, and it took a while to hunt that one down. Have I got that anywhere here? We're looking for the fuel valve status, so let's go and hunt that down. Let's bring this here. So let's do a search for the valve. General engine fuel valve. That rings a bell. Okay, let's go with that. We'll apply that and drop that in. I'm sure that's where we're going. We do need to give an index. It's probably a 1. we'll submit. So let's just have a look at here. And we'll see what happens when I press the icon here. Well, it's certainly moving in and out, but we've got the graphics the wrong way around here. Okay, so we'll switch the graphics around. So let's bring up my images, and I want to reverse those, and we'll submit that. Close that. Okay, so let's just check that again. Shutoff's working in and out. And I said I'd do the parking brake. So we'll do our usual parking brake set. So it's an on-off event, it's not a toggle. There might be a toggle, we'll do our search for it as ever. So sim event, and let's go for parking. Whoops, great typing. That'll work well. Parking brake. Oh, parking brake's toggled. Doesn't say toggle. Don't we love the consistency as ever? Let's try it out. So let's go Stream Deck, and we'll put a toggle in. And we'll try sending a 1. Submit that. Let's just see if it works. Parking brake, and we'll press, and that's toggling quite nicely. So we now need to look for the event, the variable, so we can control a graphic. So let's close that. Parking brake indicator. Yep, that's the one we're after. Parking brake indicator, and we'll drop that in to Stream Deck. Looking at our parking brake indicator, presumably it'll be a 1 for the brake being on, and we need to put a graphic in now. Oh, here's parking brake. Oops. I need to close a window. There we go. Now we've got control again. Let's put them this way around, but we can always reverse them. Okay, so that's the icon we're looking for, and we're trying to watch the condition of the actual brake itself, so we need to do a bit of tidying up and shuffling around here, and let's just check what happens. Okay, so as ever, we've got the images the wrong way around. So let's have a look at that one there. We need to reverse these images. Okay, and everything's matching up. So last thing, let's just check that we can actually control everything. So let's have a little bit of desktop audio in it this time, so you can hear what's going on. So let's just adjust the mixture throttle, and we'll do it all from here. Beacon on, battery on, and the props turning, and we've got the RPMs. Yep. Let's get the alternator on. Alternator is on. Avionics 1, 2, emergency battery, and let's have some nav lights. Let's have a taxi light. Just check the fuel pump. Yep. And pit heat, yes. And now we will try. Parking brake is definitely on, not going anywhere. Let's take the parking brake off, and we're moving. Let's not kill anybody. So, success. Okay, so the next video, I'm not sure where we're going next. Probably going to look at programming up the soft switches in the PD, the PFD and the MFD. I haven't really done any work with these lights yet. Perhaps we'll go there next time. One or the other. I'll see what the mood takes me. Okay, see you in another one.